Hi my lovely people. Oh my god, I am so sorry because guess what, I'm really doing badly when it comes to uploading content. Hey, a lot has happened, life has happened, and you know sometimes when life happens, you get caught up and it gets a bit tricky even just recording the videos and doing whatever it is that is supposed to be done. So today I decided it is either now or never. I really have to do this and do it once and for all so that we can complete what we started. And so welcome very much to Transform 360 with Susie. This is your psychologist, Susan. And guess what, guys? We started a very interesting topic on understanding the victim's mind in an abusive relationship. And like I said earlier, most often than not, victims are a category of people that seem to be forgotten. You know, people rarely talk about the victim, and every time people are asking themselves, why does someone stay for this long in an abusive relationship? And so today we'll be delving into understanding the mind of a victim and just continuing with what we started. And I think it's important for me to mention that this video will actually be of great help, especially if you are a victim in an abusive relationship. It will help you become more self-aware. You will get to understand what is happening to you, what you're experiencing, and not only this video, but also the ones that I did earlier will actually help you understand yourself better. And other than understanding yourself better, then of course you also become empowered, because there is no empowerment without self-awareness. That these two go hand in hand. For you to be empowered, you automatically have to be self-aware. And remember, whatever you are not aware of controls you. You can only be in charge and be in control of what you're aware of. And so you can imagine a victim in an abusive relationship, and they're really trying to put words to whatever it is that they're experiencing, but they cannot really explain it. So this video will actually help you to take charge, gain your control back, and above everything else, just help you control now whatever it is that you'll be aware of. And so if you've not watched our previous videos, kindly go back, watch the first two that we did on Stockholm Syndrome, and then also the second one that we did. And oh yes, we did Stockholm Syndrome, and also we did trauma bonding. So kindly go back, watch those videos, like, share, subscribe with your loved ones, with your friends, with your colleagues, and anyone else that you deem that this video will actually be of help to them. And then if you know a victim, this video will actually also help you to be able to just to understand them and to know how best to support them. Because I know sometimes when supporting them and when supporting victims, you find people really giving up, and someone is like, but I've really spoken to them, I've really advised them for the longest time, this person seems not to be taking any action. Please, this video will actually help you understand a victim better, and also just help you know how to better support them. And so welcome very much to today's content. And today, guess what we're covering? We'll be looking at something called learned helplessness. It depends on which school you went to. You know what I'm talking about. And so this is interesting because I would like to start with a scenario that was actually should I say a scenario or an experiment? That's actually the right word. An experiment that was done. And it's interesting because there were mice, and then there were two compartments. So the first compartment, the floor actually was connected to electric current. And so what happened, anytime it was turned on, the mice were experiencing shock, electric shock. And then this other compartment was now, of course, the safe side, where there was nothing of that sort. And then between the two, there was a wall that was partitioning the two sections. And so this wall was quite low. So what happened, anytime the electric current was put on, the mice would actually jump over to the other side that they deemed to be safe. And so this continued for a while, and then there was a bit of a change. And so this is what happened. Now this wall was raised to an extent where the mice could not jump over, and so the electric current was turned on. They experienced electric shock, and then now when they tried to jump over, they realized, oh gosh, we cannot cross over to the other side. So what they did is they tried a couple of times. You can imagine that scenario. They tried, and they got to a point where they resigned to fate, and they were like, you know what, we've really tried, but it seems like we cannot come out of this situation. So what happened is, now with every shock being administered, what happened is the mice stayed in that particular place. They stayed there on that floor. The floor, of course, the electric shock was very uncomfortable. They stayed there. They even now stopped jumping or even just trying to escape, and they stayed there. And with constant administering of the electric shock, they lost hope and they gave up themselves to fate. And so with staying there, the experiment again was changed a bit, and so the wall that was raised now was brought lower. And remember, like we started earlier, when it was lower, they would actually jump over. So now it was lowered again. But unfortunately, because they had already gotten so used to the electric shock and the high wall, and the mentality of now there's no way out, there's no escape. So what happened is, even with administering of the shock, and remember now the wall has been lowered, so they can actually jump over to the other side, which they deem is safer, they still didn't jump, and they still didn't jump. You know, it was administered time and again, and they still stayed there. And you know what? This actually reflects the human mind. This is exactly what happens to us human beings when we find ourselves constantly in a negative situation, and then when you try to leave, somehow you just find yourself staying there for a longer time, for a longer time, for a longer time, for a longer time, until it gets to a point where we resign to fate. And when bad things happen to people, you know, people do everything to make it better. But when all their efforts fail, what actually happens is they fall into stress that triggers a certain learned response. And so this learned response is where now they get to learn that there's no way out, there's no way to stop or reduce their unending suffering. And so it leads them to feeling helpless. And so you can imagine this principle actually is not only applicable to the victims of abuse, but also people who struggle and fight addiction. They also find themselves in such a scenario most often than not. And so it's a state of powerlessness, and what simply happens, it is triggered by failures to control an unpleasant life event. And so for the victim, the unpleasant life event in this case is the abusive relationship. And so with failure to be able to control that particular situation, they resign to the mentality that nothing can be done and there is no way out, and they just have to stay here and experience the abuse over and over again. And because also of just being exposed constantly to the negative, to the painful situation, to the abuse, you can name it, be it psychological, emotional or physical abuse, it becomes very tricky for them to just disassociate themselves and get out of it. And so this, again, remember, we have actually seen that someone tries to find a way of escape, someone tries to leave, but what happens with every constant attempt to leave, they end up failing at it. And so what happens is they stop trying to change the circumstance. Even when they have that ability to do so, they stop trying to change their circumstance. And this not trying, in the long run, leads to something we call apathy and powerlessness. And so remember, most often than not, victims feel that they are powerless. Victims feel that they have no control over the situation. Victims feel like, I cannot do anything to change this. And remember, the abusers also maximize on that part. They maximize on the point of just telling someone and making you feel worthless, making you feel like there is no life without them. And so this just contributes to the mental captivity the victims find themselves in. So actually this research showed that when it led to apathy, which apathy is not caring much about what's going around you, about what's going to happen. Sorry, there's a small insect that is really disturbing me. So basically that's what apathy is. And so the victim now gets to a place where they believe, the victim gets to a place where they believe that nothing they do matters. They will always lose. And this is what the abuser drives into their heads. Tell them, you know what, even if you're to leave this relationship, no one can take you, you're trash, you're worthless. Look at you, even who will love a woman like you? Or who can take a man like you who is not even man enough? you know, they drive that, they tell you every day, and now this becomes your reality. And so with that becoming your reality, then you know what, a victim just believes that there's nothing I can do, and even if I was to attempt to do it, I will definitely fail. The abusers even tell you, go and report. I know so many people have so many connections. Even if you go and report, nothing will happen. You know, you'll actually be just digging your own grave. And so they make you believe that you cannot actually live. They make you believe you cannot take action. And learned helplessness research shows that when people feel like they have no control over what happens, they tend to simply give up and accept their fate. And this inaction can lead people to overlook opportunities for relief, overlook opportunities for change, overlook opportunities for positivity or a brighter future or a brighter side, minus this person in the picture. They just end up losing this. And so you can imagine a victim who has been in an abusive relationship might be experiencing the learned helplessness. And also, the abuser, like we said, maximizes on this. And so I hope with this content, you have actually gotten something. Stockholm Syndrome, trauma bonding, and now this is learned helplessness. This will actually help you to just discover and understand at what particular point, or rather what is it that you're going through at every particular season. And it will help you to be more aware. And when you're more aware, you know what? You will not allow someone to keep on trolling you. You will not allow someone to keep on making you believe that there's no way out, that there's no life after that, there's no life minus them, there's no bright future. You cannot overcome that situation. You can actually overcome. And so it is just a matter of us working on our mindsets and knowing that, you know what, before I met this person, I had a life, and my life was actually, I was still surviving without this person. So what makes me think I cannot survive even if I leave this person? You will still survive. And you know what, actually you will end up experiencing a more better life as compared to where you are right now. And so I'm hoping this video has empowered you to make the right decision and to know when to say enough is enough. Thank you very much for joining me. Kindly ensure that you share, you like, you subscribe, and above everything else, join this great family, because we are here to empower each other. We are here to grow in all areas of our lives. Thank you very much, and I wish you a blessed day ahead. Goodbye.